savior, don't wanna be strangers. Let me feel like you know what to do. Leave your limitations, live and go against them. Just let go and start up something new. Cause I know what you planned out. Everything that you built up isn't what you want. And I know the life you're living isn't that fulfilling. Let me help you out.
So, dream interpretation time. Last night, I dreamt that I was in a house I used to live in back when I was a teenager. This would have been about 30 years ago. Between the ages of 15 and 18, I believe, I lived in this place, or 19 maybe. And in that house, there were some hard times, hard financial times, hard times just from being a teenager, you know? Being insecure, being not so popular, being shy, and just having the struggles that my family had. And anyway, I dreamt I was in that house again now as an adult, and for some reason I was living there, and it was nighttime and I was asleep, and these bad people, I don't know, they sort of had faces, they had mean faces, right? And they were not trying to break in, but they were trying to lure me out of the house. They were throwing things, making big, noises, and trying to get me out of the house. And I just was like, I'm not going to deal with that. I'm going to ignore that. I didn't hear anything. It's no big deal. They're out there. And at that point, I went into the bathroom and took a bath. Just relaxed in the tub. Things were still happening. They were still throwing things at windows and doors and stuff and whatever, and I was continuing to ignore them. And then I looked outside and it was snowing. A gentle snow. It wasn't a storm. I was like, oh, that's weird. It's snowing. It's summer. Huh. But I was enjoying the snow because, snow in summer, that would be, a little bit enjoyable, a little bit of a relief. And then there was steam in the room. And it was because one of the bad people outside had opened the front door, and the heat from inside of the home with the cool of the outside created this steam. And that lured me outside. I followed the steam outside, and then chaos ensued. The bad people didn't get me. They didn't come for me because the cops showed up. And from that point on, it's really unclear what was happening or what was going on. So I looked up some stuff on, dream websites, dream interpretation websites. And I thought it was interesting because just last week, I had been feeling guilty about some things that happened that I did while we lived in that house. And some of the dream interpretation sites said that the cops rats and the criminals had something to do, could mean some kind of guilt that I had. Which I felt that because of it was in that house, that was significant, and that probably was related. But also the snow and the taking a bath, it's like purifying, cleansing, you know. Snow in summer is a pleasant surprise. So, and in the dream, I was not unhappy to see the snow. So, I thought that was interesting because I am trying to work on showing myself some compassion and some empathy, my past self, particularly my teenaged and 20, maybe even 30-something self. There are several things that when I look back and think about things that I did, I'm like, calling myself an idiot, and why did you do that, and why didn't you do that, and how could you do that, and that was so stupid, and that was so immature, and what were you thinking type things come up. Incidentally, empathy is one of my strengths. Empathy for others is one of my strengths, and as I took different personality tests over the last year or so, that's what I found as one of my strengths, and I believe that's true. When it comes to being understanding and empathetic toward my past, my old self, it is much harder to do, right? I mean, they always say it's hard to forgive yourself. Harder to forgive yourself than it is anyone. There are things about past younger Christy that I'm actually even ashamed of. Whether the outcome was intended or not, or even if the action was even thought through, which it wasn't. I didn't think through things very well all those years ago. And what brought me to this was, in the past couple of years, I've realized that I've had a lot of anger and frustration just kind of living here, that I was so used to it, I didn't know what it was. I didn't think about it. And recently I've been working on my thoughts, trying to maintain my thoughts. Think about what I'm thinking, because I will catch myself thinking about something from the past and people involved. And I start feeling anger, and I notice it. And I notice the thought. I stop and I think, wait, what are you doing? Why are you thinking about things that you should have said in anger to other people? What is this doing? What purpose is this serving? Who is this helping? Now I stop myself. I catch myself having a certain thought, a certain memory, thinking about things I should have done or said against other offenders. And I stop myself and I forgive those people. I'm like, okay, those people were in this situation. There's another side to this story. Just let it go. Forgive and let it go. It doesn't matter anymore. You don't have to worry about what you think you should have done or how you should have handled that or what you should have said. You did what you did. You didn't do what you didn't do, and it's over. Let it go. Let it out. And if I have a particularly hurtful memory, involving people I know, if I need to cry it out, I cry it out. And I forgive those people. And I let it go. I'm not saying that it's not still there in some way, but I feel lighter after months and months of taking notice of these memories and thoughts that just seem to randomly show up in my mind. And so now, we're kind of running out of everybody else, and we're on me and things I did to hurt other people, intentionally or not. Some were intentional. I do not claim to be some sort of saint or super innocent or anything. But some were unintentional. And both are difficult to, even the unintentional are difficult to show that same forgiveness toward myself, to have that same mercy toward myself, And so that's what I'm working through right now is how to do that. Some things I've thought about as I work through all of this is I try to consider, first of all, whether or not it was intentional. Intentional is a little harder. But, the unintentional is still careless, and not well thought out or thought out at all. So it's still hard to give myself much slack, because in all of these instances, in my mind, I'm just thinking, well, you should have known better. But, what I'm working through right now is telling myself, depending on the situation, it's done. I can't take it back. There's nothing I can do about it now. And again, it's been 20, 30 years ago. And I try to do what I did for those other people who hurt me. I think about their lives at the time, what they were dealing with, what they were going through, and consider that if I know what those things are. And if I don't, I think, well, there must have been something. And so I try to do that for myself. I try to think about where I was in my life and what I was going through, and just try to find ways to be like, okay, you're really not such a terrible person. You're no worse than anyone else. Everybody gets hurt, and everybody, if you live on earth with people, you're going to hurt them and they are going to hurt you. I am going through a time of transition, which is also reflected in the dream I talked about at the beginning of the video. There was a part where there was steam and where it lured me out, and that can also be interpreted as transition. There's a lot about that dream that's relevant in this particular time in my life. There is a vision that I have for what I want my life to be from this point forward, and who I want to be from this point forward, which is why I've been doing the work. I had to start taking anxiety medicine a couple of years ago, and boy, has that improved things. And taking the anxiety medicine in addition to doing this kind of work on myself and on monitoring my thoughts and paying attention to what I'm thinking, and do I need to be thinking this? And to the outside world, it looks like nothing has changed in my life. I'm still in the same job. I still look pretty much the same as I did a couple years ago. But when you look closer, people do notice a difference in me, in my attitude, and the way I show up. I hope this video finds you well, and as always, be good to yourself.
It's easy to feel. Let yourself heal.